Hello students, welcome to the lecture on Geographical Perspective on selected issues and problems, and after this lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Describe environmental pollution, explain about urban waste disposal, understand urbanization, define the rural-urban migration, explain about slums and their problems, and describe land degradation. Environmental pollution. Let us begin our lecture. There are two types of the cause of pollution, natural and man-made. Natural pollution occurs naturally and would not cause excessive harm to our lives due to its regeneration ability, while the man-made pollution is caused by human activities and hard to get rid of. Pollution is not a problem that came suddenly from the sky. It is our fault and has been a part of our life through many years. We must be wise in managing our resources and take positive action towards preventing any form of pollution to the environment. There are 6 types of pollution, namely air, water, noise, land, radioactive and thermal. Air pollution, water pollution, land pollution, noise pollution, radioactive pollution, thermal pollution. We will talk a little about each type. Air pollution. Smog hanging over cities is the most familiar and obvious form of air pollution. But there are different kinds of pollution, some visible, some invisible, that contribute to global warming. Generally, any substance that people introduce into the atmosphere that has damaging effects on living things and the environment is considered air pollution. Carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, is the main pollutant that is warming the earth. Though living things emit carbon dioxide when they breathe, carbon dioxide is widely considered to be a pollutant when associated with cars, planes, power plants, and other human activities that involve the burning of fossil fuels such as gasoline and natural gas. Most people agree that to curb global warming, a variety of measures need to be taken. On a personal level, driving and flying less, recycling, and conservation reduces a person's carbon footprint, the amount of carbon dioxide a person is responsible for putting into the atmosphere. Water pollution. Water pollution occurs when a body of water is adversely affected due to the addition of large amounts of materials to the water. The sources of water pollution are categorized as being a point source or a non-source point of pollution. Point sources of pollution occur when the polluting substance is emitted directly into the waterway. A pipe spewing toxic chemicals directly into a river is an example. A non-point source occurs when there is runoff of pollutants into a waterway. For instance, when fertilizer from a field is carried into a stream by surface runoff. There are different types of water pollution. Toxic substance. A toxic substance is a chemical pollutant that is not a naturally occurring substance in aquatic ecosystems. The greatest contributors to toxic pollution are herbicides, pesticides, and industrial compounds. Organic substance. Organic pollution occurs when an excess of organic matter, such as manure or sewage, enters the water. When organic matter increases in a pond, the number of decomposers will increase. These decomposers grow rapidly and use a great deal of oxygen during their growth. This leads to a depletion of oxygen as the decomposition process occurs. Thermal pollution. Thermal pollution can occur when water is used as a coolant near a power or industrial plant and then is returned to the aquatic environment at a higher temperature than it was originally. Thermal pollution can lead to a decrease in the dissolved oxygen level in the water while also increasing the biological demand of aquatic organisms for oxygen. Ecological pollution. Ecological pollution takes place when chemical pollution, organic pollution or thermal pollution is caused by nature rather than by human. An example of ecological pollution would be an increased rate of siltation at a waterway after a landslide, which would increase the amount of sediments in runoff water. Land pollution. The deposition of solid or liquid waste materials on land or underground in a manner that can contaminate the soil and groundwater, threaten public health, and cause unsightly conditions and nuisances. The waste materials that cause land pollution are broadly classified as municipal solid waste construction and demolition waste or debris and hazardous waste. Noise pollution. Noise is actually a Latin word which gives the meaning seasickness. More commonly, it can be stated as the sensation of annoyance, disgust, or discomfort. Noise pollution becomes a stressful one to so many animals. It may creating many problems in prey relation, predator, and detection. It also leads to several different reproduction issues. Very serious noises can in fact deduce the usable habitats of some sound-sensible creatures. Finally, it results in the depletion of rare species. For example, noise pollution created by the mankind actually putting a full stop for so many sea animals, specifically the ones whose sense of hearing is very sharp, like whales and dolphins. Radioactive pollution. Radioactive pollution, like any other kind of pollution, is the release of something unwanted into the environment, and in this case, the unwanted thing is radioactive material. Radioactive pollution can be a very dangerous thing because radiation mutates DNA, causing abnormal growth and possibly cancer, and this radiation remains in the atmosphere for years, slowly diminishing over time. There are many causes of radioactive pollution which can significantly harm the environment. The effects of radioactive pollution or exposure to nuclear radiations were first reported in early 20th century when people working in uranium mines suffered from skin burn and cancer. Urban waste. We will now talk about urban waste. The growth of the world's population, increasing urbanization, rising standards of living, and rapid developments in technology have all contributed to an increase in both the amount and the variety of solid wastes generated by industrial, domestic, and other activities. We can categorize urban waste as: firstly, municipal wastes are composed of wastes generated by households and wastes of similar character from shops, markets and offices, open areas and treatment plant sites, and each of these sources of municipal waste. Second is industrial waste. Industrial process wastes include a very wide range of materials, and the actual composition of industrial waste in a country will depend on the nature of the industrial base. Waste may occur as relatively pure substances or as complex mixtures of varying composition and in varying physiochemical states. Lastly, agricultural waste, which may include horticultural and forestry waste, comprise crop residues, animal manure, diseased carcasses, unwanted agrochemicals, and empty containers. Their composition will depend on the system of agriculture. Urban waste disposal. Having talked about waste, it is now important to discuss about its disposal. Waste disposal is the act of taking items that no longer have value to be destroyed. Waste disposal is the process of collecting and removing waste and relocating it to a place where it will sit or be recycled. Part of waste disposal is determining if materials have any inherent value that can be used for composting or recycling. Recycling of waste. Recycling involves the collection of used and discarded materials, processing these materials and making them into new products. It reduces the amount of waste that is thrown into the community dustbins, thereby making the environment cleaner and the air fresher to breathe. Advantages of recycling: leads to less utilization of raw materials, reduces environmental impacts arising from waste treatment and disposal, makes the surroundings cleaner and healthier, saves on landfill space, saves money, reduces the amount of energy required to manufacture new products. Urbanization: cities, large and small, are at the heart of a fast-changing global economy. They are a cause of and a response to world economic growth. City populations are growing faster than city infrastructure can adapt. Many urban areas are growing because their rural hinterlands are depressed, which forces impoverished rural people to move to the cities in search of work. These newcomers often end up not finding the opportunities they are looking for, so they become part of the urban poor. This leads to problems like drug addiction, crime, juvenile delinquency, begging, alcoholism, corruption, and unemployment. Taking up a few, we will now talk about: first, housing and slums. Government, industrialists, capitalists, entrepreneurs, contractors, and landlords have not been able to keep pace with the housing needs of poor and the middle class people. Some homes are so overcrowded that 5 to 6 persons live in one room. Some neighborhoods are extremely overcrowded. Overcrowding has very deleterious effects. It encourages deviant behaviors, spreads diseases, and creates conditions for mental illness, alcoholism, and riots. Second is water supply and drainage. We have reached a stage where no one has water supply round the clock. There is drainage in the towns which are not fully severed. Because of the non-existence of a drainage system, large pools of stagnant water can be seen in every city, even in summer months. Last, we talk about power shortage. The use of electricity has increased in the towns, and there has also increased of new industries, and the expansion of old industries has also increased, thus leading to a perpetual power shortage. Rural-urban migration. Urban population is increasing day by day due to migration from villages to the cities. Rural out-migration appears to be a response to increasing rural resource scarcity, principally competition for agricultural land. Strategies for livelihood diversification include education and off-farm casual wage labor. However, jobs and services are limited in urban centers. Few migrants send large cash remittances back to their families, and most return to their villages within 1 year without advanced qualifications. One benefit for returning migrants may be through enhanced social prestige and mate acquisition on return to rural areas. These findings have wide implications for current understanding of the processes which initiate rural to urban migration and transitions to low fertility, as well as for the design and implementation of development intervention across the rural and urban developing world. Land degradation. The cumulative effects of all the population, overpopulation, etc. can be seen in the form of land degradation. Land degradation is a human-induced or natural process which negatively affects the land to function effectively within an ecosystem by accepting, storing, and recycling water, energy, and nutrients. Desertification is land degradation occurring in the arid, semi-arid, and dry subhumid areas of the world. Pressure on the land has 3 main effects. Extensive farming systems, which were traditionally in harmony with the environment, since only low productivity was demanded of them, have become inappropriate. Increasing numbers of the rural population are being forced to farm marginal and unsuitable land, which shall become quickly degraded, and more people move to urban areas, adding to congestion, pollution, and often removing yet more prime agricultural land from production. Summary. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. One can say that waste is useless, unwanted or discarded material resulting from agricultural, commercial, communal and industrial activities. A dirty, unhygienic cluster of impoverished shanties with long lines of people crowding around a solitary municipal water tap, bowling babies left on street corners to fend for themselves, and endless cries and found voices emanating from various corners. The slum environment is the perfect breeding ground for a wide range of social problems like child labor, internal and external corruption, gender inequality. Desertification is land degradation occurring in the arid, semi-arid and dry subhumid areas of the world.